Hey, this is OXDF. We're doing the 2016 Advent of Code. This is day one, and we're doing this with the Python Discord revival of code in 2023. All right, let's take a look at the day one challenge. No time for a taxicab. The first few paragraphs just describe how Advent of Code works. There's going to be 25 challenges, each challenge 2 stars. I need 50 stars, etc. And so we're going to start right here. I need dropped by the bunny, Easter Bunny. We're trying to track the Easter Bunny this year. I'm tracked near Easter Bunny headquarters, and I've got a map. And I start facing north, and then I'm provided a sequence either turn left or right 90 degrees, then walk forward at the given number of blocks, ending at a new intersection. There's no time to follow these directions, so I just need to work out the destination and figure out how far is the shortest path to that destination. So if I have R2, L3, I'm going to turn right, so I'll be facing east. I'll go 2 blocks east. I'll turn left, facing north again, go 3 blocks north. And in the measurement we're using here, which is shortest path, no diagonals, that puts me 5 blocks away. If I turn right and go east 2, then turn right and go south 2, and then turn right and go west 2, that puts me actually just 2 blocks directly south of where I started, so I'm only 2 blocks away. And so I have these 3 examples, and this one I'm 12 blocks away. So the question is, how many blocks is it to the headquarters? And we can get my puzzle input. I'm going to actually do that with my script. So we'll come over here to my VS Code window, and I will start by running my genday script. I had a whole introductory video about this script and how it works, so I recommend you check that out. I will try to include a little link here, but I'm going to run this, and now I'm in day one, and I've got the input here. I can see if I Alt-Z, there are a number of steps here, so including some big ones of 188, 54, etc., 78. So that's my thing. The first thing I want to do here is I'm going to go into my tests file. And I'm going to get rid of, let's see, we're going to put the tests for part 1 in. We're not going to use this part, so we'll get rid of this. We can actually get rid of pathlib. Cool. And so for part 1, we have those 3 items. I'm going to actually pull this onto my other screen so I can easily copy it over. And what we're going to do is for each of these, what we're going to do is we're going to have 3 test cases. That's what I have here. I don't need all this white space. The first test case is going to be, let's see, I need to, on my other monitor here, R2, L3, and the answer is going to be the number 2. Then I will have, oops, I'm missing my L3. I will have R2, 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 grab this, put it here, and that's going to give me the number 2. And I have R5, this one right here, paste in. This is going to give me the number 12. And so that's going to run this test 3 times. Each time is going to parse the input and return parsed input, and then it's going to call part 1 on the input, and it's going to check and see if it equals these numbers I've given it. So I can run pytest right now. Oops, pytest. And we fail 3 times. None equals 2, none equals 2. Didn't expect that. This should be 5. Silly typos. And none equals 12. So there we go. We have not, now we need to actually implement our thing. To parse the input here, we're just going to, I think really all I'm going to need is just to split the string into items by comma. If I look at the input here, it's just, really if I just split these into number and space, that should be plenty for me. So I'm going to do something where I can do like, whoa, how my caps lock get on? Return, oops, not puzzle input. And we'll say like, oh yeah, puzzle input, I guess, dot split. In this case, we're just going to do like that. So we're going to split on that, and that should be all I need. The testing template in the real Python article actually had a test for this. I don't think it's necessary. I'm just going to skip down to here. If I do come across more complicated examples, maybe I will write a test for parse, but for now I'm just going to kind of work it in. So how are we going to solve this challenge? We're going to start by giving ourselves an orientation, and I'm going to just say it equals 0. I'm going to let 0 equal north, 1 equal east. I'm just going to kind of go clockwise around. You could do this however you want. It doesn't really matter. But what I do want to do is I'm going to make myself an orientation map. And what that is going to do is it's going to give me, if I'm facing north, then moving forward is going to move me 0 in the X and 1 in the Y. In fact, GitHub Copilot here is filling this in for me. So let's double check it, make sure if I'm facing east, I'm going to move positive in the X direction and nothing in the Y. If I'm facing south, that's going to look right. So this actually I can tab complete and it fills in really nicely. And now I've got my map there. That is going to let me say, if I'm facing this way, move steps in this direction. I also want to say what if my x, y equals 0, 0, so that's where I start. And then I can say for instruction in data, because we already broke that up here. The first thing I want to do is say, I'm going to do a match. And this is new in Python. I think Python 3.10 is where they added the match. Might be earlier, but might be, I don't know. Anyway, we'll match. And I'm going to match on instruction sub-0. So I want the first character of instruction. And if my case is capital R, GitHub Copilot is solving this for me, then GitHub Copilot is really solving this for me, then my orientation is going to be my orientation +1. So I'm turning to the right. So if I was north, I'm going to be east. East goes to south, south goes to west, west goes back to north. And I'm going to then mod that by 4. And the reason I'm modding that by 4 is because my orientations are 0, 1, 2, and 3. If I turn further to go to 4, well, 4 mod 4 becomes 0, which gets me right back to where I want to be. So let's see if it can case L, orientation perfect, same thing, this time I'm just subtracting. And it's good practice to add a default case here, and I will do a, this looks about right, raise a value, we'll go with that, raise value error, perfect. So that is, now I will have processed the first part of the instruction, I've done the turning. Now I can say like move equals orientation map. So I'm going to get the movement that would happen, and I can say distance is equal to int instruction of the rest of the instruction. So skip the first character and continue on to get that instruction. And then I can say x plus equals move, don't sub 0. Yeah, that's right. And y plus equals move 1 times diff. So basically, I'm going to take move in x and y in those positions. And after I'm finished with all the instructions, I just need to know the absolute value of the distance that I've gone. Just if I started at 0, 0, now I just need the absolute value of the x plus the absolute value of the y, and that'll give me the distance. It's kind of cool how much GitHub Copilot wrote of that. If I run pytest now, you can see I actually pass all 3 of my tests. So I'm succeeding here. So let's just go ahead and we'll do, I can probably just hit F5 here to run a Python file. And in my terminal, it's going to give me an answer of 279. We'll jump over here into Firefox. I guess we can do it on screen. And we get the first star. So we'll continue to part 2. So in part 2, I'm going to probably pause the video for a second while I get the instructions here. Okay, so for part 2, we're just going to look, we don't actually need the ending point, we just need to stop as soon as we hit a repeat point. So we need to track all the positions we stop in. So let's go ahead and we will grab this, and we know the answer there is 4. So we're going to go back to our tests. We don't need to see, we can come here, delete that, clear here. So we have our first input there, and the result there is 4, we said, I hope. Is that right? 4. Yep. Okay. And we don't need the rest of it. So I guess go here. Perfect. So we can save this. We can go back to our bash terminal here and do pytest again. And we should now see that we skipped. We don't want to skip. We want to fail this one. So let's go ahead and save pytest again. And now we failed here. We have a none equals 4. So perfect. Now we need to do, our parse input is going to be the same, but this time we want to pass it to part 2. We're going to go ahead and create some more functions to handle this for us. We need to do a lot of the same stepping here. So what I'm going to really do, before we even touch part 2, is I want to do a little bit of refactoring here. So we'll come here and we'll say def step. And what are we going to step? Well, we're going to need to take a current x and a y, and we'll need our current orientation, and we'll need the instruction. And we're basically going to need to grab GitHub Copilot filling all of it in for me. So we will now do for instruction in data, step, xy, like that. We can say xy orientation equals, that look about right? So what we're doing now for part 1, and I did that very quickly. We're just going to loop over our instructions. For each time, we're going to pass the instruction, the current position, orientation, and instruction, and get back a new position, a new orientation. And we'll do that for each one. And then up here, we've got our function that handles that. We're going to go ahead and test. So we still pass our 3 functions. So if we had messed that up somehow, if part 1 had gotten screwed up, our test would have failed there and we would have known it. And this is where testing is really valuable. So real quickly there, I don't have to spend a lot of time making sure I got this right. I just proved I got this right. So the question is, now we need to figure out for part 2 how we're going to track our positions. So we're going to do the same kind of thing. So we'll start off with our orientation is 0. We'll start off with xy equals 0, 0. We're going to have to do, like Copilot is suggesting, we're going to need a visited here, and we're going to make it a set. And that'll just be the position, the points that we visit. We're going to want to add those. We are going to do, for instruction in data, we'll probably do x, y orientation. We're going to do the same stepping here. We're going to need to change this slightly, though. So what we're going to want to do here is track the place. Well, there's 2 ways we could approach this, really. We could save this into like an x2 and a y2, and then calculate the position, each of the steps along the way from xy to x2, y2, and then add those to the set. Or we could have that calculated up here and then just return that as well. And I think that's what I'm going to do. So what we're going to do here is we're going to add visited equals set like this. And then we're going to return visited. Now for this to work, we're going to need this right here. We don't need this in part 1. So we'll just save it in the underscore. That's kind of the convention in Python for throw this variable away. We can retest with Python just to make sure we're still, or pytest, we're still passing our 3 tests. So nothing screwed up there. Just so you can see, if we didn't do that, if we just left this here, it's going to yell at us. It's going to see all 4 failed now because we're returning 4 values and trying to unpack it into 3, and it doesn't work. So we'll just save that as underscore to ignore it. Our pytest is now showing 3 paths, so we're still good on part 1. Back in part 2 now, we need to actually run. Let's see. We're going to need back steps or something, we'll call it. And then what we can do. Now we get back a new x, y, and an orientation. Let's see. So what we need to do is then say for step in steps, if step in visited, return the absolute value of step 1 plus the absolute. Yeah, return the distance to that location. Otherwise, we can say visited add steps. We're going to add that step to the visited thing and continue there. And this should solve it, actually. Let's see. Does that solve us for us? No, we still are failing. Let's see what we're getting here. Step reference before assignment. Let's see. Where are we going to... What line is that on? Oh, because I called the function step and then the thing step. That's not good. Let's see. What are we going to call this? We're going to call this, we'll call this current visited. We'll say for v in current visited, if v in visited, then we need the absolute value of v, absolute value of v, otherwise add v to visited. We'll try that. Let's try pytest again. We're still failing. Okay, so now we're still asserting none. We must never revisit this thing. Oh, because we never add anything here. So we've never actually added it here. So let's go up here and we'll say, we'll have to do a little bit of work here. So we can say for underscore in, we're going to get rid of dist. We're going to do for underscore in int that. So we're going to do that many times. We're going to say I plus move equals that. So basically, instead of multiplying by distance, we're just going to do it that many times. And so if we run this, we should still pass our 3 tests. Oh, we passed all 4 tests. So now we're seeing why we've messed something up. Object is not iterable. Let's see, what are we failing here? Function. Oh, of course, we can't just pass an int there. We have to do range like that. And so now we're back to 3 tests passing. So part 1's working again. So we still are happy there. But we're not getting let's see. assertion error, still not getting anything good there. We can do something here where we do like print x, y, orientation. I guess we'll print the underscore too, just to see what comes out. And now, let's see, do we get that? 4. Oh, we're still getting a none here. I don't know why I put that in part 1. Let's ignore that in part 1. Come down here in part 2, and we'll say print x, y, orientation, current visited. So that we should be able to see after each set of steps what happens. And so if we make this bigger, we can probably get rid of this sidebar. We can see we start off at 8. We start off at the first one, we returned, look at our test input here. We went right 8, so we are now at the point x equals 8y, and that looks right. Our set is not anything. So that's, we're just returning an empty set here, and that's the problem. Let's see, what are we gonna add to our set here? We never add to our set. I can't, it's funny, we talked about this and we never did it. We're gonna do this, and we need to do visited.addxy. Now we run pytest, and all 4 tests pass. Silly error, but you can at least got to see me troubleshoot it. So now we will come here and we can do, let's jump to our other, actually we can just go here and do F5, and we really don't need that print anymore probably. Let's get rid of that. Where was that? Here. Save, F5. We have an answer of 163. We submit and we solve. That took longer than I expected. Hopefully it was useful to watch me troubleshoot a little bit. Part of my ego wants to go back and re-record this and make it look like I actually know how to solve it the first time. But you know, hopefully it's valuable to watch me be stuck for a few seconds to figure out like where could the problem be. So actually really not a very hard challenge, but still kind of a fun one to put together. A good day 1 challenge. So thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll talk to you next time.